So much, Chris. Joining us now for analysis is Jason Whitehead, Associate Professor of Political Science at Cal State Long Beach. We want to thank you for coming by. We want to get right to it. This was the first debate since House Democrats announced an impeachment inquiry into President Trump. That was the first topic, of course, with former Vice President Joe Biden right in the center of it all. Let's take a listen to his response.
My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government in rooting out corruption in Ukraine. And that's what we should be focusing on. And what I wanted to make a point about, and my son's statement speaks for itself. He spoke about it today. My son's statement speaks for itself.
All right, Professor, how do you do?
Yeah, I think he did well on that issue, but it's tricky, right? Because you've got this whole impeachment inquiry, which is focused on Trump, obviously, and the misdeeds of the Trump administration. But Biden's right in the thick of that. His son's name has been called into question. Biden's own integrity has been called into question. And so it's a tricky thing to be asked it in a debate, wanting to go on the attack against the person that you hope will be your opponent in the general election, but also realizing that it could actually cause people to doubt the things that your son has done or your family has done. So the safest thing for him to do is just stay away from it and say, he made the statement, he'll speak for himself.
So he handled it well. He knew that question was coming up, and there he went. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The candidates, they really went after Senator Elizabeth Warren. She took a lot of heat for not answering. She would raise taxes on the middle class.
Yeah. That was one thing that she's been actually taking some heat recently for being a little bit.
Let's listen to the Elizabeth Warren interview really quick here.
Your signature, Senator, is to have a plan for everything, except this. No plan has been laid out to explain how a multi-trillion-dollar hole in this Medicare for All plan that Senator Warren is putting forward is supposed to get filled in.
At least Bernie's being honest here and saying how he's going to pay for this and that taxes are going to go up. And I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but you have not said that. And I think we owe it to the American people to tell them where we're going to send the invoice.
Okay, what do you think about that?
Yeah, she's taken some heat for being a little bit deceptive about, being deceptive about one thing in her past, and another thing came up last week. So I think the thing about the taxes is a way for them to dig in without having to be too in your face about her prior deception about other issues. And it makes her look a little bit cagey, makes her look like she's trying to dodge an issue. But clearly, throughout the entire debate, they treated her like the front runner.
And we did talk about this. She was Elizabeth Warren throughout the entire debate. She was steady. She was what we've normally seen in the past, despite taking so much heat. And as you said, it's looking like she is taking that position of front runner.
When you're the front runner, the worst thing you can do is stumble. It's much worse to do that than the amount that you succeed by hitting a home run at a debate like this. The best thing you can do is maintain your steadiness, and she certainly did that tonight.
Well, after a little bit of a health scare, Bernie Sanders was back on the stage tonight after he had that heart attack and had the stents put in. And this is how he answered the question about his fitness for office. Take a listen.
Now to the issue of candidates and their health. Senator Sanders, I want to start with you. I want to start. We're moving on, Senator. I'm
healthy.
sorry.
I'm feeling great, but I would like to respond to that question.
I want to start by.
That got a nice response from the audience as well, Professor. I mean, he did want to answer, I'm doing fine, and he went right to being Bernie Sanders and answering the questions and putting through his thoughts.
He did address his health a little bit later, just a minute later, but the best response for somebody who's had some health issues is to give the appearance of vigor and strength without having to say it. If you got to say it, you're already down, right? Because people are already questioning it, and you're admitting that there's some validity to it. But just breezing right through it and saying, I'm going to get back to the substance of the debate is probably the best thing he could have done.
Okay, let's talk now a little bit about California Senator Kamala Harris. What did you think about her tonight?
Yeah, I mean, she had some big moments in earlier debates, but it really seems like she's struggling to find her constituency. She's struggling to find is she in the moderate lane? She's certainly not as progressive as Warren and Sanders are. She's not as conservative as Tulsi Gabbard or as Pete Buttigieg. And so you got to find a place where especially in the primary race where you can get more funders, where you can get more endorsers, and those are getting taken up by people to the left of her, people to the right of her. So I think you saw her try to make a name for herself at the very beginning and a couple of times throughout on the issue of abortion. As a female candidate, being able to step in on that issue and say that she's going to fight for a woman's right to choose abortion. However, it seemed to lose steam as the debate went on, and by the time you got to the actual abortion question, that energy seemed to have dissipated.
Yeah. There were times they'd get back to Kamala Harris, and I almost forgot that she was still participating tonight because it had been so long that we had heard from her.
Yeah.
All right, before we go, let's talk about billionaire Tom Steyer. First time we've seen him on the debate stage. Do you think it will be his last?
That's hard. Predictions are tough, but it didn't really seem like he added much. I mean, his issue is impeachment. I mean, that's the reason that he's on the stage is because of all the money he spent on impeachment, on commercials saying, let's impeach Trump. Well, it's happening. So the issue's now co-opted. So where does he find a new voice? Everybody else is talking about impeachment. He's got to find some other issue. I don't know if he has one.
All right, real quickly, if you had to name a number 1, 2, and 3 front runners moving forward after this debate.
Honestly, I think the front runner is still Biden. When you look at the polls, especially going into Super Tuesday in March, if he can get through Iowa and New Hampshire and still be number 1 and number 2, I'd still put him as number 1, and then Warren, and then Sanders.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Professor Jason Whitehead from Cal.